One school that's been aggressive in the portal, and no surprise about that, is Auburn. As Hugh Freeze, those seats getting a bit warm over there, as there normally isn't much patience in Auburn, a program that has very high expectations year in, year out. But this is a good pickup here on the defensive line as edge rusher Chris Murray from Sam Houston State transfers over. And this was a guy who was first team all conference last year, 11.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 6'4", 255. Really good motor, though, and was a high 3-star recruit coming out, signed with TCU, transferred to Sam Houston State after that first year. But that production, man, you can't deny production. We'll see what it looks like against SEC tackles, but obviously coming out as a high recruit, the athletic ability should be there.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing you see when you look at these transfers to big programs. Sometimes you'll say, wow, this is a small school kid going to the SEC or the Big Ten or whatever it is. And you dig deep into the background and you say, well, this guy was originally recruited at that level. He just kind of had a roundabout way to getting to the same place. But the body type, the athleticism was always considered at that level. He just needed some seasoning, some experience. And that's what he got at these smaller schools. So you look at Murray, like you said, 6'4", 255. First team all conference. All that is good. Pro Football Focus loves him. 78.1 grade, 38 pressures, 24 quarterback hurries. And just watching him a little bit, playing down. So he's not a stand-up edge rusher necessarily. He can play down. Really long arms, good hands, can get off guys. You look at Auburn's situation on the edge. You lose Jalen McLeod's an 8 sacks player going out the door. Keldrick Falk comes back, 7 sacks. You also bring in Jared Smith, who outwashed in the Under Armour game and is a physical monster, but could probably use some polishing. The 5-star player, one of the top edges in the country, basketball background. I mean, just totally looks the part, but not someone that you say is a finished product as far as their hands, their craft. They're just kind of getting by on skill and athleticism, on talent. Work on his craft, sharpen the tools, and a guy like Murray comes in, replaces what McLeod gives you to an extent, and lets this thing keep rolling. Auburn's defense last year was not bad at all. They've recruited at an extremely high level the past 2 years, brought in a lot of front seven talent, a lot of front seven athletes with size. So we know what they did on the offensive end, at the quarterback position, at the wide receiver position, at the tackle position. This is a team that's gearing up for a run, 4 straight losing seasons. They're tired of it. Preseason top 10, according to some way too early polls. We'll talk about that here later on group chat. But this was a move that I think makes sense to bridge between what you have leaving and what you have coming in with Jared Smith.
Well, and we've seen a lot of guys been brought in on the offensive side of the ball. Eric Singleton highlighting that at the receiver spot, but the quarterback spot, they've loaded that room up to where you have a little bit of everything there now. Jackson Arnold coming over from Oklahoma, but you'd have to think right up there, this was a huge priority for them, is continuing to get some pass rush off the edge.
Yeah, and if you get a guy from a smaller school, again, we mentioned he was really a big school recruit that ended up at a smaller school, but when you're bringing him in from that level, you don't just want to have him play okay there. You want him to be a pretty dominant player. So this is a first-team all-conference player. Now, it's Conference USA. It's not the SEC, but you can't get higher than first team, right, inside the conference. So he's doing what he needs to do there. Watched him against UCF, which is a quality team, and he looked, it's quality talent, I should say. They weren't that great of a team this year, but he did not look out of place at all, had a forced fumble, looked the part. So I don't think, going to the SEC, he's going to look out of place. He's not going to be dominant necessarily, but he should be solid there just from a physical eye test standpoint based on what I've seen from him, what the production says, and what the Pro Football Focus grade is. So, good pickup. Edges are going to be always a hot commodity here in the portal. You see some guys get opportunities in the SEC that have not necessarily produced. We'll talk about those guys in a second. Then you get some of these smaller school guys that have produced. They get to step up a level. So he's in that category, and I think it's a good pickup.